Often, we think about division in terms of sharing. When we divide 8 by 4, we are sharing 8 between 4 people, boxes, whatever it may be. One way we can represent this is with 8 balls and 4 boxes. We are sharing those 8 balls between 4 boxes. As a result, there are 2 balls in each box. 8 divided by 4 is 2. However, this breaks down when we think about dividing by fractions. What does it mean for 8 to be shared equally between half of a box? To improve our understanding of dividing by fractions, we need a different way to think about division. This is Mr. Butler Maths, and in this video we are looking at dividing by fractions and also the power of having multiple ways of thinking about the same thing. When I divided 8 by 4 previously, I thought about it in terms of sharing 8 between 4 boxes. Another way we can think about division is as the inverse of multiplication. Specifically, I want to find how many times one number is going to go into another number. If we are looking at the calculation 8 divided by 4, then I want to know how many times 4 goes into 8. 4 goes into 8 once and twice. Therefore, 8 divided by 4 is 2. Now moving to another example of dividing 8 by 2, how many times does 2 go into 8? 1, 2, 3, 4. Therefore, 8 divided by 2 is 4. Now, we haven't looked at any fractions yet, but you might be able to see where this is going. When we divide 8 by 1, how many times does 1 go into 8? Well, 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. Therefore, 8 divided by 1 is 8. These are all very straightforward divisions, and it's actually probably more straightforward to think about these ones in terms of sharing. However, the reason I've presented those 3 examples is to lay out a pattern that will help us when we move on to dividing by fractions. And even if you've never divided by a fraction before, you might be able to recognize that pattern and use it to help. So what is the pattern? Well, if we keep our initial number the same, that's 8 here, as the number I divide by gets smaller, 4, 2, and then 1, my answer on the right-hand side gets bigger. If we wanted to use our pattern to predict what's going to happen when we divide 8 by a half, well, let's just extend that. A half is smaller than 1, therefore, our answer will be bigger than the answer to 8 divided by 1. That is, it will be bigger than 8. So that's what we think is going to happen. That's what we've predicted. We think that the answer to 8 divided by a half is going to be bigger than the answer to 8 divided by 1. Well, let's test it out. 8 divided by a half, the helpful way I can think about that is how many times does 1 half go into 8? Okay, so let's put in 1, and then 2, and 3, and 4, and 5, and 6, and so on. We will see that a half goes into 8 16 times. Therefore, 8 divided by a half is 16. And I think this example demonstrates the power of this alternative way of thinking about division. It's very difficult, if it's even possible, to wrap your head around sharing 8 into half a box. But this alternative method of thinking about division as the inverse of multiplication is much more straightforward when we are looking at dividing by fractions. So if you ever get stuck dividing by a fraction, try and think about this alternative way you can think about division. This video is a bit shorter than some of the other videos on my channel. If you like this way of thinking about division, don't be afraid to leave a like on the video, and I'm always on the lookout for new ideas, so feel free to comment any other topics that you think would benefit from a video like this one. Thanks guys!